come up and move into our next panel with Mr. Josh Burns from Mississippi. Mr. Aaron Metz, the Mr. Employee Benefits. Mr. Ernest Mitchell, all the way from South Carolina. And the Redwood, Mr. David Kampert, the human Redwood. All right, you guys got a lot to live up to after the first panel. Okay. The average age went up a little bit too. I don't know if anybody else. Young guns to old stallions. All right, I want to start with my buddy Josh Burns. Okay, I've been learning from this guy ever since I first got in the industry. Okay, I don't know if I've ever told you this story. My dad and I were on our way to a family vacation, company trip, something like that, and he's looking over the reports of the numbers, all the different agents, and he's like, "This is the dude to chase. And then maybe this is the dude to pass because we're really competitive. So who knows? I don't know." Or at least about me for sure. And then he's like, and you will make $100,000 your first year. Well, the dude that he said to learn from, follow, chase, and to see his numbers crushing it every month was this guy, Mr. Josh Burns. Okay, so thank you for leading from the front and inspiring me as a brand new agent. Appreciate that a ton.
It's all being broke.
Talk about that then.
Oh man. So when I got in this business, I won't bore you with all the details, but I literally was broke. I was joined Mutual of Omaha way back in the day. I wasn't there 30 days and my car got repoed. So when I say broke, I mean broke. But it was that drives me every day today because I still wake up saying I'm broke to make sure I'm going to make the money by the end of the week.
But you're definitely not anymore.
No, we're better. We're better.
Yeah, you're definitely not broke. But okay, how do you not get complacent? Because right, who else has been like, okay, broke, money, I'm gonna pull it back a gear. I'm gonna pull it back from fifth gear to third, okay, and cruise a little bit.
So for me, I got a really expensive wife.
I got one of those.
My daughter is, she just graduated from high school, so when you got two females that way, there's always a debt in front of you that you know it's coming. It may not be there today, but it's coming. So for me, it's just, I wake up every day with butterflies in my stomach, even after 13 years in the business. And you always want to know, where's my next sale going to come from? Who's it going to come from? What kind of opportunity can I make out of that particular opportunity with that individual?
I love that. I love that. They also call you, I don't know if you've heard this, the Pekin Power Player. You're like one of the top agents in the country with Pekin. I don't know if the gentleman from Pekin's in here or not.
I don't see John.
But you've absolutely crushed it with them. Why and how?
So I don't know if any of you guys know Pekin yet, but they're a really cool little company. They do med subs and they also do whole life insurance or life insurance in general too. But one of the things about them, they actually have a whole life product that actually has a true long-term care rider on there. And it's truly pennies on the dollars for the LTC rider.
That's awesome.
For me, I'm a lot like Tom Hignott. The long-term care has to be in the portfolio for me and my clients. It's not an option for me not to present it. It's obviously an option for them to buy it, but to purchase it. But it's all about an education for me. So I educate them on what the product is, how it works. From a pricing standpoint, at this point, I have not found a product that is going to beat the pricing for what Pekin has to offer.
They may raise it after this, but
they may. And the other things too, Pekin is not. I'll go ahead and throw it out there too. They're not the highest paid in comp, but for me, I don't really care because I'll make it up on volume. I may not make it up on the actual individual, but I will make my money based upon the volume that we sell. But truly, though, they have a really good long-term care product, and that's one of the ones that we do. Once we have that conversation with the MedSup, we close that sale. the whole money back thing.
That's
So
right.
I don't actually do the money back presentation anymore. It's
You-
more of
you
a
did though,
conversation.
right?
Yes.
And you did it really successfully too.
Yeah, I was broke, so we had to find all the money we could. So it was always finding the money. So if I could ever find the money in the house, then at that point I can own the purse. If I own the purse, then they're going to come to me for everything else.
That's good. Talk about the money bag. So I mentioned it earlier. Talked about Sean, who introduced to me. You used it at one point. Kind of like explain the dynamic and what that is. I know it's a little more visual sometimes, but try to
Yeah,
explain
it's
that.
a visual thing. We used to, so back in the day, Mutual of Omaha, we had paper applications. So when the application was done, we had the voided check in hand. I would flip that application over. It had a blank piece of paper on the back. I would literally draw upside down, and I would draw a money bag, the old-fashioned little money bag, and put a little dollar symbol in the middle of it. And then I would poke 4 holes in the actual money bag. The first one was always going to be hospitals and doctors, which we took care of that through the Medicare supplement. Then we always poke a hole in there for the LTC. And then I'll poke one in there for taxes and inflation. And then the last one we poked a hole in was for the life insurance. I always had conversations based off of the 4 holes that could potentially, they could lose their assets off of that. Always harped on the long-term care part of it first because it was an easier conversation to go to versus actually trying to go after the money. Because a lot of times people don't want to ask somebody how much money they make or how much money they got. Especially that generation, you know, your grandparents never told you how much money they had, and they were told never to ask. So I would ask through the long-term care. They just didn't know I asked them. And one of my questions was, if you were to have to self-pay for your long-term care, how many years could you, Mr. Jones, pay for your own long-term care, assuming it was $50,000 a year? If he tells me 4 years, how much money has he got? He's got at least $200,000 somewhere.
That's gold.
My second question, follow-up was that, so Mr. Jones, if you were, stingy enough and lived all 4 years and then passed away, how many years does Miss Jones have now that she can self-pay for her long-term care? Whatever that answer is. 0, no years, 1 year, whatever. So I'm still finding money as I go.
What were you thinking of the second question? Were you thinking they were holding out on you a little bit on the first question, or what was the thought there?
I think sometimes they're not going to always tell you the whole truth.
Yeah.
Even if they tell you for 4 years I can do it, and the wife says 1 year, they probably still may have some other monies. And a lot of times you can tell by their lifestyle for where they live. Maybe that's not always true either. But that's kind of how I was able to find the money. And then I would always get them to. We'd have that conversation on the long-term care. I would get them to bite long enough to say, hey, when I bring back the Medicare supplement policy and your cards to you, I'll actually bring some long-term care illustrations. We can talk about it to see if it actually makes sense for you and your family. And then we would do that. I'd get them to bite on that, and then I would find the monies. Back then, we could the fixed annuity rates were 5, 6, 7% interest. So it was easy to kind of use those to fund your actual long-term care premium back in the day. So we would get the long-term care premium application on paper, get it in underwriting. Once it was done in underwriting, we'd come back and give them the long-term care policy and say, now let me show you how to pay for it. So now we're actually taking the assets and moving the assets over to actually start paying for long-term care.
That's cool.
So when I met with somebody, it was never, we're going to take everything off the table today. It was always a process. You're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 month process sometimes to get everything off the table.
That's really good. That's good. That's good. I mean, you got to remember and follow up, right, and have good notes and be organized and all that, which is cool too. You also have, you still have a ton of Medicare. You also have over $10 million of assets under management. So a lot of long-term care and life insurance. What do you not do?
PNC.
There you go. Okay.
Because I don't know how to spell PNC.
I can help you spell it.
It's just above my pay grade. I enjoy what I do. I just the property and casualty is just not my thing. So we'll refer it out.
There you go. There you go. That's where Redwood comes in. Talk about. I mean, why the assets under management too? Because is there anybody else in the room that does that? By the way, were your securities licensed right here? Okay, good. Mr. Rob, why that? Have you always done that?
Basically, I've always done that. So my career started at Mutual of Omaha. They were really pushing the Series 6 and 63 back in the day.
Yep.
So we just did what we were told to do, so we got it. And so started doing that about 6 months in. For me, it was fun. It was challenging to really try to find the money on there. I think I felt like I got pretty good at doing it as far as finding the money. But the totality of it is, obviously, it's a great way to fund other stuff. Because if you do the annuity side of it, I mean, they pay pretty good money on the annuity side.
Yeah.
But the real part of it about it for me is if I can control those assets, they're not going to leave me for anything else. So I don't have to worry about somebody knocking on the door to change out my Med Sup to a Med Advantage or my Med Advantage to another Med Advantage.
Or talk about an annuity or whatever, right?
So I own it all from that point. They'll come to me for long-term care. I get bigger referrals for those who actually have assets with me. I get bigger referrals from that. I get more referrals on that part right there. But the coolest part about it is you do it long enough, I'll have Miss Jones, she'll call me up and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a car. Can I get X number of dollars out of my account to go buy a car? Well, so they're calling us to get permission to go buy a car, right? Yeah. So it's just, you own it at that point. They're not going to go anywhere else from you on that part.
That's awesome.
So if you're not doing that, I think you're missing a huge piece of your portfolio on that right there.
Wow, that's good to know. Give it up for Josh. All right, Double A. Aaron Metz.
Let's get it.
Mr. Employee Benefits.
Yeah, I'm kind of the odd guy in the room here. But at the end of the day, we have all got to work with prospects and clients and help them. So kind of hard to follow this guy and the other guys earlier, but I'm going to do my best.
You'll do just fine.
All right.
I know you will.
Got a question for me?
Yeah, buddy. What's the when it comes to the best questioning process because you're really good at sales, helping a client, training salespeople, getting someone into an insurance policy, getting into offices to sell large groups of people.
Yeah.
When it comes to the questioning process to help uncover a prospect's needs, what's some of the best questions that you use to do that?
Okay. I like to use the type of questions that cause my prospects, whether it be a CEO, CFO, or even an employee at an enrollment, it causes them to sell themselves, all right? And that's the ultimate low-pressure way of selling. And so I've followed some huge sales studies. I've been a sales nerd for about 10 years. Don't hold that against me. And what I wanted to know when I was reading all these sales studies and reading these books and getting certified in all these different types of sales processes, what's the best for insurance? And what's the heart of the sales process? And that's the questioning strategy. So I use and I teach through the Agent Blueprint Academy, I teach the PIP methodology. And it's based on some large sales studies, like I said, like the Huthwaite study. It's based on some different research from Dr. Michael Pantalone. And it teaches agents, the questioning process teaches agents how to understand how the right side of the brain works, how the emotional side, I think we're losing our mic.
Maybe so. We have to turn him up a little bit.
Okay. All right. I'll try to speak up, guys. So the PIP methodology is problem, impact, and picture perfect questions. And all that means is that every prospect we go to, every prospect we work with has some sort of problem or a need, or they wouldn't be agreeing to the appointment or answering a lead form or, whatever it may be, right? So we have to start there, but that's not usually the real problem. That's not going to be enough motivation. So I use impact questions to test the impact that problem has on that prospect, right? To get to the heart of what's really, what would cause them to be motivated to make a change, to move from one carrier or one agent to me.
Yep.
Or whatever it may be. Maybe I'm dealing with someone who's always just done it that way. That's people's excuses, right? Well, we've always just done it this way. Well, guess what? You take them through the PIP methodology and you start getting into that emotional side of the brain, and you'll hear them say things like, wow, I can't believe I've been dealing with this for this long. Or, I've never really looked at it that way. You'll start hearing emotional verbiage, and that's when I rotate and pivot to my picture perfect questions. And that is, hey, look, we talked about your problems or your issues or your challenges and how it affects you and your family, your budget, whatever it may be, on a deep level, 3 to 5 layers deep. The best salespeople go 3 to 5 layers deep with their questions, okay? And they talk less and less as a prospect talks more and more. Now, once we get them to that position, no matter who they are, whether it be a CEO, I've worked with CEOs of 1,000-life companies, or just a single employee who's buying benefits. And when I get to picture perfect, I ask them to paint me a picture over exactly where they would like to be, as vivid as possible. And we use Socratic questions and things like that to kind of really dig deeper and get them to talk more. When they get there, it's go time, okay? That's when you deal with this third part of the sales process, which can't get into today, but the picture perfect, the PIP methodology has proven to win me cases back to back when there were 7, 8 competitors involved, when I wasn't the lowest price, whatever it may be. It's just being real. And I liked what everyone said earlier on the last panel, because if you are not, agents are afraid to be emotional. I'm not talking about being emotional or you're crying with your prospect, right? I'm talking about understanding the emotions and why people make decisions. Emotions are made on the right side of the brain. They're later backed up by the left side of the brain logically. So that's how I handle my questioning process.
That's good. That's good, buddy. Thank you. You've been one of the top reps at SIG. When did you? 5 years ago. 5 years ago now, 2015 or 2016. And what's some of the bigger? Because you've written some from employee benefits from a company standpoint. You've had some phenomenal days, weeks, months as far as like how many lives you're insuring and all that. Talk through some of some of your bigger cases, some of your big wins, the possibilities of when you focus and sell employee benefits.
Absolutely. So when most of you go to write an app, you're meeting with a family or an individual, sometimes a business owner. You're doing a buy-sell, and I'm actually fascinated with the individual side because I'm learning a lot as I come to these meetings. But on the group side of things, what I want to know is how do I talk to one decision maker and then write 500 apps from that automatically? So I'll take a large manufacturer. They do aerospace. I can't name their name, but they're here in Springfield and they're all over the world. And we joined and became a premier member of a manufacturing association. Brian, you remember those long, hard discussions and trying to make all the grease the wheels, right, to make those things happen. And our first client from that was a large aerospace company. They have 1,000 employees here in Springfield.
Wow.
So our first enrollment there, in one day, we wrote $190,000 in premium at a 65% average in commission.
Awesome.
Group meetings, paper apps, custom designed by me and Allstate.
That's not a bad day.
It's not bad. It's not terrible, yeah.
A 6-figure day.
We're trying to figure out how to do that all across the Midwest, aren't we, Brian, right now? The
Every day.
The great expansion.
Every
Let's
day.
go. Yeah. It's in motion. Go time.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, fun stuff. And we still write 20 and 30 life cases where we just write 10K and we're there for an hour, you know.
Fiddly ones.
They're small, yeah, but we'll take them. They're good clients.
What drew you to the employee benefits space to begin with?
So I was actually an agency director for a captive employee benefits agency, and I was there for several years and was very successful. But I was on a company trip, and the CEO was laughing at the fact that I wanted to train agents how to sell effectively because we were losing so many agents, and they didn't have support. They had a little flip book, and they had an hour of training. And to me, that was not acceptable. I was tired of watching people that came to us with their last tank of gas, and they go out and prospect believing in us. And so on the plane ride home, I designed my letter of resignation, and Jacob called me. Jacob, where are you at? There you are. This guy called me and said, hey, will you come in and talk to us at Secure Group or recruiting? I'm like, yeah, sounds like good timing. So showed up, and I met you, Jacob, Brian, and Cody, and I instantly felt a connection because these guys, I knew this was like a family-owned business, right? The Askins have treated me like family, even my kids. You always give my kids too much candy when they come in there, man. And so when he said, hey, we're independent, and here's our MO, here's what we do, here's how we do it, and I said, hey, can I come here and build an employee benefits team and train agents and build up what I want to, or do I have to follow your flip book? I don't think I said that, Brian, but that's what I was thinking.
We didn't have an employee benefits flip book anyway.
Yeah, so I will always be with Secure. They treat me like family. They treat me good, and I will always appreciate all of you, Cody and Brian and all of you guys. So, yeah, that's kind of my story.
Thanks, buddy. You have phenomenal energy. You're fun to be around. We get a chance to pick this dude's brain. He is an absolute master at sales and people and literally walking into an organization and ensuring everyone, 500 people at a time, That's awesome, buddy. Give it up for Aaron. Actually, okay, yeah. Go ahead. Give it up for Aaron anyway, okay? And then I think my dad wanted to add one thing real quick, too.
Aaron started basically from scratch when he came over. He already had a little bit of experience, but he's grown from scratch to multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of income each year from what he's doing. So
Yeah, he's done absolutely phenomenal. Crazy impressive, by the way, okay? Crazy freaking impressive, right? Boom. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you, buddy. I love working with you, man. I love picking your brain. Love getting to share ideas. Mr. Ernest Mitchell.
Ernest Mitchell.
South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina. I'm getting used to this mic, so I'll figure it out in a second. But the name of my company is Deer Retirement, and it's a pleasure to be here. I've learned so much from these panels, and I guess you got to ask a question, right?
Well, no, we don't have to. Either way, whatever.
Well, one of the things I was going to tell you guys is I'm listening to all these unique ways to make money, and I was just kind of figuring, like, what am I going to say when I'm up here? What am I going to talk about? But my journey was a little different. So I needed to figure out a way to make money, and I just started calling through the white pages. The white pages would literally tell you if someone was over 65. So I would dial everybody over 65 and set an appointment to go talk to them about something, drop some information off. And I would just show up, and then I just became better and better at getting whatever information I could from them, because that's the goal. When you're in your house, I consider myself a consultant. So not only do I want to help them with Medicare, I want to help them with life insurance, I want to help them with the annuity. Don't get those all the time, but we have one that just closed yesterday. So excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
I work with my wife. She is an amazing woman. Her name is also Lauren, like Cody. So we have that in common.
Right.
I think that a part of my journey that's interesting, that you never find out or figure out where you are going until you get there. So I'd had a dream. So during the pandemic, we kind of shut down. We had a decent amount of residual income, so we had our bills covered. We actually closed on our house that we built from scratch in August, just like Cody and Lauren, and
That's
something that we're super proud of. But one of the things that I kept thinking is, I don't want to do business the same way that I was doing it. And I remember I went to church that day, and they were talking about don't give up. It's time to shift. So I ran into the business expansion meeting a couple weeks ago, and they put this strategy, which I think is phenomenal, that you guys are getting a chance to listen to this, because I'm all about it. And I'm going to get better at speaking too, but I don't quit. I don't give up. So to where we can do the seminars, we can still do the leads, we can still pepper that with different technology strategies that they have with the part of the is that the Cody Askins group? Who's the secure agent? Yeah, secure agent marketing.
Yeah.
I think right now in our industry, what they're bringing to the table, helping us get in front of clients so that we can meet and solve problems, make ourselves a brand in our area. No one else is doing that. They're all just saying, hey, you know what? We can get you leads, but there's no strategy behind it. So leads, strategy, and then, these guys are willing to come down to show up at your seminar, do it with you. Matter of fact, they're excited because Mr. Askin's wife is from Greenville, South Carolina. So we'd love to have you. But so I don't think you've even asked me a question, man.
Dude, hey. He's doing great though, isn't he? Right? I'm like, dude, if you keep rolling like that, there's no reason for me to speak, man. You're doing phenomenal. Seriously. Dude, we met a couple weeks ago, right, when you came in for the business expansion workshop downtown, and we hit it off quick. Your energy, your passion, like a lot of agents in the room, you were originally selling final expense, transitioned to Medicare. Why the transition?
Well, me and Cody talked about this. So one thing that I found out real quick is you can make really good money in final expense, and I didn't have like the leadership that they have here. It was basically like, here's some old leads, go do it. And I didn't know, and I was selling a little bit of health insurance before. The health insurance, after the ACA, you kind of had to figure out something. And that's when I did the white pages like I talked about. But one thing that I found out pretty quickly, and it was a painful experience, I'd been killing it. So I had 433 apps on the books with Forsters. My residual income was $1,600 a month. And I met someone else that had 400 or something apps that were Medicare books on the book. So, their residual income was $10,000 a month. So that made me make that transition very, very fast.
Aha! Yeah, that would help, right? Because it wasn't really any more. Actually, you know what? They probably sold the 400 Medicare easier than you sold the 400 final expense too.
And you know what? They definitely stayed on the books longer too, because God knows final expense, the drop off is. I still write it though. But.
For sure. Yeah, I believe it. And talk about some of the things that's coming up next. Some of the things you're wanting to do now, right? You just want to duplicate yourself, build a team, help others. That's a serious passion of yours, and I can feel it.
Yeah, it is. Once you get to, and there's people here that are way more successful than I am. So, but when you get to a point to where your bills are covered, we just closed an office downtown in our little area. I get more wind and more energy from helping other people get from 0 to 100. Helping them succeed. We had a pretty big team back in the day. We had some agencies that found ways to take people from us and stuff like that. And that's why I like the heart that the Atkins bring. It's like you can sense that you're just around people that are of character, of integrity. One of the things that Cody and his group talked about when we were at the business expansion meeting was putting together your core values. No one had ever talked to me about that. And me and my wife, who came to the event as well, we were just like, wow. So when we had my wife's doing the second interview with a person tomorrow, but when we did our first interview, we took the time to go over our core values as a company with her. And and I saw her, she was sitting back like this, and she was like, oh, okay, this is different. She could sense it, that because we also want to be looked at among our employees as people of integrity, people of character, people that are setting a standard so that they know if there's any issue, they can come to us and they trust it,
That's good. I love it. Give it up for Ernest. Good buddy. My good buddy Ernest. David Kampert.
Good morning. Good
Dude,
David Kampert.
We're like, our family's like best friends now, man.
Man, I'm telling you, it in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
You think about last fall, we had an opportunity. Actually, I should say my son had an opportunity. There he is.
Social media.
Social media. He's getting his little bite, and he's got to get something out there. No, my son had an opportunity to go to a Power Player event that Cody put on last fall, and so Cody had texted him, say, hey, Joe, we see you're all over the place. Man, we'd really love to have you at this thing. It's the first one we're doing. And so Joe comes in. He's like, Dad, I got invited to this event. I really, really want to go. And I'm hearing about all this, and then I'm like, I really want to go. So I'm like, well, text him back and ask him if he'll do 2 for 1. Ask him if he will let your dad come, then I want to go too. And literally, it has completely transformed our business. So again, Cody and Brian, those guys, again, they're the kind of guys that, hey, if you want to be at the table, you want to have a seat, they're going to pull it out for you. They're going to make room for you at the table, and they absolutely did that for us. And that group of 20 guys, we showed up. It completely changed my mindset, which is huge. I mean, your mindset is everything in this business, And so it completely transformed us, and really ever since, we're super excited to be connected with the Askins and everything that you guys are doing, and here at Secure. Just like you, we're not going anywhere. We'll be here for a long time.
Thank
Absolutely.
you, buddy. I appreciate that. You guys have what you've built. How long has Redwood been around?
3.5 years.
Only 3.5 years. What you've built, what you're building, is really, really quite remarkable.
I think we are trying to become a PNC IMO. And I'll tell you, on the PNC side, they don't even know what IMO means. I mean, they're like, what is that? I don't really know what that means, but you guys say IMO, and I'm like, I think that's what we're trying to build, so we're just going to call ourselves a PNC IMO. But it's really what we're trying to do, because it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. On the PNC side, if you pull that curtain back, it's not that difficult. It's really not that hard. it's really the same thing for us. I mean, that's why we're trying to get into Medicare and life, because we kind of had that same thing. Oh my gosh, that's way over my head. I can't even spell life. I can't do that stuff. But we've come to a number of these meetings, and we're talking to guys, and we're like, wow, that's not that difficult. And so really what we're trying to bring to our agents is to say, you know what, the biggest door into a household is what door? It's the garage, right? So it's the garage door. So if I can get your cars, I'm in your house. And now once I get in your house, then there's everything else now that I have access to. So we're trying to give our people the ability to go through any door that they want, whether it's Medicare, whether it's life, whether it's home, whether it's auto. You're going to sell something. So if you show up and the problem is not life, it's not Medicare, it's not all this stuff, it's actually my cars. I hate my agent. He never returns my calls. He never does anything. You can walk out of there with that. So that's really what we're trying to do at Redwood. We're trying to make it a little bit unique, pull down some of those silos and say, hey, you know what, no matter what it is, that whenever you show up, you're going to be able to solve a problem. If you can ask great questions and you care about people, which everybody's talking about we do, there's nothing that you can't solve for them. And that's what we're trying to offer our people the ability to do.
That's right. On that side, too, you've been very involved in, obviously, the operational side and building that out.
Right.
What are some of the operational things that you've noticed or learned along the way as others are trying to build something like what you guys have today?
Yeah, I think for us, technology is absolutely key. It's really critical. In fact, we are literally in the process right now of kind of building out a CRM that is going to be a life and health and a P&C CRM. So we're trying to get kind of an all-inclusive type of thing. Because the information that you need to store, what you need access to, it's different for both sets. So we're really trying to create a system that we can offer to our agents so that, again, duplication of entry and everything else, that whether I'm talking to that person about this MedSup product or whether I've got their 2 vehicles, it's all within that same household. And so we're in the process of building that out now. We've got a strategic partner that we're working with. And so, again, they're in the life and health space, so they've already got that piece done, but they don't know P&C. And so we're helping them to build out that piece so that we can kind of have that, that all-inclusive, tool for us. And then really on the back end, it's about our agency management system. It's one thing to get numbers in, but you got to get numbers out. You've got to know your numbers. You got to know what's going on with your business. That's one of the things, we've talked about. Yeah. And so again, just having a really good agency management system that you guys can really utilize and take advantage of. So again, we're trying to create those tools that no matter what segment or what vertical we're in, that we can be able to take advantage of all those things.
I love it.
Talk about real quick, as far as it's really hard to keep P&C contracts because of all the requirements, and how y'all can help.
Yeah, so one of the things difficult, on the life and health side, you can pretty much get a contract from anybody you want. On P&C, it's a much different animal. They either want you to bring like $500,000 or $1 million in annual premium just to get in the door, or they're going to put all these production requirements on you. So one of the things, joining Redwood Agency Group, we were very fortunate 3.5 years ago to get direct appointments with our carriers. And since then, we've really seen this tightening in the P&C space, that instead of going and getting more agents to get more production, they're just requiring more of the ones they've got. So guys that are now, they're wanting to look behind the curtain and actually get into the P&C space, they're having difficulty being able to do that directly. So at Redwood, we're saying, hey, come join us and we'll give you access to all the carriers that you need. So we're giving people the opportunity to write business, but more than writing business, it's actually to own your business. So you're going to own your book of business. And again, because we're a collective, because we're a group, the production requirements, the profit sharing, everything else that comes along with that P&C side, we are eliminating that risk for you. So as an individual agency, where you have to write $250,000 with Safeco, and I've got to write another $500K with Nationwide. And if you don't do that, they're going to pull your contract. And when your contract gets pulled, you're never, ever going to get it again. So again, joining a joining a team that's going to support you and help you in that space, particularly when it's a whole new thing to you, those are some of the things that we're trying to do, with Redwood, for sure.
I love it. Give it up for David. Thanks. All right. Also, let's get up for Josh, Aaron, David, and Ernest. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Okay.